We haven't seen Murtaugh and Riggs since 1987's Lethal Weapon, but one of the most popular and influential buddy cop franchises is apparently making a comeback. Lethal Weapon 5 is in the works, according to Mel Gibson. The most recent Lethal Weapon 5 update from Mel Gibson is encouraging for the upcoming sequel to Richard Donner's 4 iconic films.
We must be getting warm. Warm. See anything?
Where? I don't see anything.
Along with other action classics like John McTiernan's Die Hard and Predator, Richard Donner's Lethal Weapon contributed to the development of the action subgenre in the 1980s. Lethal Weapon, the perfect example of a buddy cop film, successfully balances action and comedy while also showcasing the chemistry between Martin Riggs, played by Mel Gibson, and Roger Murtaugh, played by Danny Glover. The buddy cop subgenre, in which two incompatible police officers must cooperate, was practically invented by the Lethal Weapon series.
What the hell thins my middle name?
Yeah, your wife's cooking, I'm not surprised.
Glover and Gibson's magnetic chemistry, the screenplay by Shane Black, and the direction by the late great Richard Donner set the standard for all to follow. The theme of family is central to Lethal Weapon 4, and the film feels like a rambling reunion crowded with familiar faces and new additions. Riggs and Murtaugh are at a new crossroads more than 10 years after beginning their partnership. Martin discovers his love, Lorna Cole, played by Renee Russo, is expecting a child, and Rhiann, Roger's oldest daughter, played by Tracy Wolff, made Murtaugh a grandfather. Roger is also unaware that Lee Butters, played by Chris Rock, is Rhiann's husband and his new son-in-law. Lee Butters is the precinct's enthusiastic new detective. The movie practically stops so that Rock, who was one of the hottest comedians in America in the 1990s, can perform some of his stand-up routines with a superfluous Joe Pesci, who is back as Leo Getz. As Riggs accepted that he has grown older and is now past his physical prime, he and Murtaugh come across a Chinese human trafficking ring and a dangerous new foe. Lethal Weapon 4 does, however, deal with Riggs' aging in a way that nicely reflects Murtaugh's arc in the first movie, and Martin finally learns to let go of his late wife Victoria Lynn to embrace a new future with Lorna. The best fight scene in the franchise is the shockingly violent final showdown between Riggs, Murtaugh, and Wah Sing Koo. As Chris Rock's character ended up marrying Murtaugh's daughter and Joe Pesci's character eventually joined the family, the film actually had a satisfying conclusion for the overall story. Lethal Weapon 4 is the longest, most expensive, and weakest movie in the series, but it has some heartwarming moments, and its elegant closing credits honor the cast and crew, the majority of whom worked on all 4 movies over an 11-year period, are well worth watching. The popularity of Bad Boys 3 has shown, however, that nostalgia can occasionally be a very strong attraction. What does that mean for the Lethal Weapon series? Something good, I guess? Lethal Weapon 5 is one of those sequels that keeps getting put on the table and then taken off again. In 2018, it was revealed that Richard Donner, who directed the previous 4 installments, was planning on one final installment in the series, which he promised would be dark and titled Lethal Finale. Nothing much happened after that. It wasn't until 2017 that the prospect of a 5th movie appeared to be possible once again. Gibson, Glover, and Donner were all willing to return, assuming Warner Brothers would approve. After confirming the title a year later, Donner returned to the director's chair in 2020 and the film began active development. Additionally, he declared that it would be his last film before retiring. Sadly, Donner passed away in July 2021. Later that year, Gibson announced that he would be the director of the movie to honor Donner. It will only be available on HBO Max, so don't look for it in cinemas. Before we go any further, we wanted to let you know that it's time for you to smash that like button if you haven't done it already. The Warner Brothers Discovery merger could have put an end to Lethal Weapon 5 before it even started production, as the film seemed like the ideal choice for HBO Max. But with other sequels like Evil Dead Rise and the DC film Blue Beetle moving to theatrical runs, this may now be how the Mel Gibson starring film is released. All of that, of course, is information for the future because up until the filming begins, it's always possible that the project could be abandoned at any time. Gibson, on the other hand, seems to be as certain as anyone that filming will begin as soon as possible in 2023. If that's the case, then Riggs and Murtaugh may return to the case again in 2024, but for the final time. Why don't we talk about Mel Gibson and Danny Glover? Danny Glover is 76 years old, while Mel Gibson is 66. One was the running joke in the previous movie that Riggs and Murtaugh made. Basically, they had to remind each other that they weren't getting too old for this, despite feeling like they were. They were both middle-aged men past their prime at the time, but they're now both genuinely older men. They're both definitely too old for this as of right now. However, they'll return for one final performance as a legendary team of Martin Riggs and Roger Murtaugh, Rene Russo, Chris Rock, and Joe Pesci are a few other well-known actors who might make a comeback, but it's unclear at this time. It may be challenging to bring back Joe Pesci, who provided comic relief as wannabe cop Leo Getz since he was officially retired.
Urine sample!
Hey, I got a badge too, okay? Hey, German Jews didn't have it any easier when we were kids, so don't think...
The mother of Riggs' child and Riggs' love interest, Rene Russo, might be willing to do it. She is still actively acting, and she played Frigga in the Marvel movies Thor, Thor the Dark World, and Avengers Endgame. As Butters' Murtaugh's son-in-law Chris Rock could return to the story, which would be enjoyable. So how would a Lethal Weapon 5 with an aged Mel Gibson and Danny Glover look? If they were really that old, would they still be in the force? Even though it's a silly action series with a light-hearted comedy at its core, are we really to believe that the LAPD would retain two officers in their 60s or even 70s? Maybe Riggs and Murtaugh won't be working as police officers anymore. If they were, that would be pushing it. What if they launch a mentor program where they instruct new young police officers? Although it sounds cliched, I think Lethal Weapon is the type of series that can accomplish that without making it sound cliched. Imagine Riggs and Murtaugh being forced into early retirement after that. Murtaugh, who is a devoted husband, father, and grandfather, probably wouldn't mind because it would allow him to spend more time with his family. Then again, Riggs would be much less happy living a quiet life. He's the kind of guy who still craves action, even though he's probably still getting used to life with Lorna Cole and their child. I can see their captain telling them to serve as mentors to the newest batch of police officers. Riggs and Murtaugh probably wouldn't be too happy about it, but that's where the Lethal Weapon humor can help. They'll do it solely to reunite the two of them at work, but you can bet the department will make fun of them for it. What kind of backlash would they face today if they were thought to be too old to be doing this stuff back then? Riggs will attempt to outdo the younger guys, though it's likely that Murtaugh will just take it. That's where the action will start to happen now. Without action, it wouldn't be a Lethal Weapon film after all. And because of this, you need to smash that subscribe button and notification bell so you'll never miss any of our videos in the future. Although the action was always entertaining to watch, Riggs and Murtaugh are getting older and have their barriers. If they're up against a younger thug, they'll need to find another way to defeat him. Either way, Riggs has one more chance to lose his mind. It will be interesting to watch them battle against physically stronger thugs as older men in either case. Like they always did, they might even make jokes about it. See you in the next video.